I've got a special treat today. CubicFun sent me this 3D puzzle of the Queen Anne's Revenge. And I thought, pirate ship? Oh yeah! I've never put together a 3D puzzle before, so I thought this would be a lot of fun. So let's get this out on the table and see what we've got. Okay, let's get into it. This is the Queen Anne's Revenge from CubicFun. Boy, it looks like there's a lot of parts and pieces. I'm seeing on the back too, they make a few other ships. Like there's a Mississippi steamboat, the San Felipe, and the HMS Victory. That one looks really cool. All right. Wow. Got my handy dandy pocket knife. Let's cut the seal. Oh, this top flips open. Very nice. Everything's packed in there very nicely. There we go. We got a little CubicFun 3D puzzle that's actually cut on this little card. That's cool. Looks like we got a pretty hefty instruction book too. There we go. Saddle stitched. Oh wow, this is quite generous. It's all full color print, sealed paper. Looks okay. So this, I guess that calls into question if it's actually a puzzle or a model at this point, because these look like pretty thorough instructions. What I do like is there is some information on the vessel in the front. If you've watched my other shows, you know I'm very interested in the history behind any of these games that I review. And I definitely did notice they have some great photos. This is cool. I mean, there's some interesting information. What kind of caught me is the flag is incorrect. They have a skull with crossed sabers. That was actually the flag of Calico Jack Rackham. Blackbeard, who captained the Queen Anne's Revenge, actually his flag had like a little devil with a spear that was stabbing a heart. So I don't know how accurate or inaccurate this model is till I really tear into it. But if I recall correctly, the Queen Anne's Revenge was a 40 gunner. It was a French-built frigate. So, and this does not quite look like it has 40 guns, but the picture of the puzzle in the book versus the picture, the artistic rendering, both have different amounts of cannon. So it might just be a matter of perspective till I tear into this. But really, really nicely put together instructions. I love the color coding of the pieces. You know, I'm not going to hold it against them as being not a puzzle and being more of a model, because I consider Legos to kind of ride that line too, where they're halfway between a puzzle and a model. And I love Legos. So this is right up my alley. I mean, this kind of reminds me of putting together the Lego Clipper ship when I was younger. Looks like we have the LED lights and wiring right here and a single battery pack, so that doesn't look like it'll be too complicated. I'm also noticing all the little pigtails are clearly labeled with code numbers, so I'm sure as we go through the assembly that's going to come into play. Okay, we have all of our pieces neatly shrink wrapped together, so we'll put that over here. Well, looks like I'll need to pop open my pocket knife again to have a look, but these sheets of, it looks like this is foam core too. So this is a very thin, I would say, about an eighth of an inch thick foam core. Okay, I'm trying to be as gentle as I can. Here we go, got everything out of the way. Here's the fun part. Oh yeah, tearing that shrink wrap. Love to do it. All right. Oh, got a little stuck to my hand there. There we go. This is cool. I don't want to shuffle through these too much because they could be, I know in some of these kits, some stuff can be in order. These sheets don't seem to be, oh no, there we go, 12 of 14. So this is 14 of 14. All right, so yeah, down by the CubicFun branding, they've got which sheet So there we go. It's very small. So, but it's indicated, but this looks really cool. Now, I'm not going to film the whole assembly here. I'm going to take some time, put this together, because that's 4+ hours. So I am going to put this together, and we're going to take a look at the final product and talk about how fun it was to build, or if it was a pain. I don't know. We got 4 hours to find out. Before I get going with this build, I want to point out, earlier when I was unboxing this, I thought this was just like a little advertisement or something. It has CubicFun's branding on it, but when I look closer, this is a tool for punching out pieces from this board. This is a little hole puncher. This itself is cut out, so you pop this out here, and these little points allow you to efficiently punch out these small little sections here that are cut out for the model there. That's a little bit easier than trying to do it with your fingers or fingernails. So this way you can cleanly pop these out. So I thought that was really neat. So don't overlook this. If you get this model and you open it up, there's a little tool here for you. That's really slick. That's nice that they included it. That'll help make assembly a lot easier. So I guess let's get started. I'm gonna have to tear into the instructions here and get going. I'm a good ways into the build now, and I'm about to start putting the LED lights in. However, I want to point out, though this box does say no tools required, there will be a requirement that you have some cellophane tape. It only requires one little piece, but when you're putting the wiring in, it asks in the instructions that you secure the wires in one spot with some cellophane tape. So since that was a bit unusual, I thought I wanted to make sure that I highlighted that, but it's coming along nicely. I will say so far, one of the more difficult things is punching the parts out, and I am really glad they gave me this tool. It's made it a lot easier. I will say that playing around with this foam core stuff when you're building this model, it definitely takes a little finesse, but it's not bad. It's a little bit more tough than, say, like putting together a Lego set, but other than that, it's so far the difficulty is not too bad. So we're gonna keep going here, and hopefully we'll get this lit up soon. I just got through the first round of wiring. There are a couple of different little pigtails, obviously for different levels of the ship, and this right here is where you have to use a little cellophane tape that is not included in the model. I also had to have a small Phillips head screwdriver for the battery door. So you don't really need a tool to put together the model, but make sure that you have a small Phillips head to get the battery door open, and it is something that you'll need to hold it shut securely, and a little bit of cellophane tape. But otherwise, everything's coming together. This part was a little trickier, required a bit more finesse because I was fitting these little LED lights into these little spots. They have these tiny little holes cut in for the bulbs to pop through, and the tolerance is tight. I always get nervous with things like this, like foam core or cardboard, that I'm gonna torque on it too much and tear it. But so far, it's going pretty well. So there we go, first round of wiring. Oh, sorry, my cat's down here playing. All right, let's get back to it. I'm officially past the halfway point on the build. I just got done doing steps 11 and 12 from the book. which are where I place these, or I put these little quarter panels on, these side panels. And so far, that's been the most difficult part of the build, particularly the front panel here. Just the way that the tabs fit in, it required a lot of finesse. It was difficult to do with two hands. The model is light, and there aren't many ways to brace it against anything. So I actually did need a second pair of hands. I did get some help holding this in place while I put this together. So again, that difficulty rating on the box of 8 out of 10, I can see as we're getting further into the build where that comes into play. So this is, again, probably a good one that would be like a nice team effort. So this would be a fun co-op puzzle. The little piece that I got to help punch things out is starting to wear, and I have done a lot of punching out. So lots of tiny little slots for all of these pieces to fit into and hold everything in place. So haven't needed any glue, just that one little bit of tape to harness the wires in place and keep them out of the way for the rest of the build. I did start using the nail file on my pocket knife to punch things out just because this started getting a little bit worn. I've been using it a lot. It would still function, but it was just quicker and easier. Plus, the flat, thin end of this was good for helping tease some of this foam core board into place to get everything to fit together properly. So now I'm going to finish up on some of the wiring, and we're getting close to finished. Because I think, personally, I just think that if Atreyu thought happy thoughts, then he would probably be able to just like stand out of the swamp. But it's probably his selfishness that cost Artax his life, really. Like, he could have offered the horse sugar. He had sugar, right? Didn't he have like sugar? What was that? Yeah, that's true. It might have been the insult that pushed Artax over the edge. But I just think that, like, if we're taking into account that Fantasia is basically like the collection of everybody's fantasies, and obviously Peter Pan exists in that universe, we know from the bookshop. So naturally speaking, I would assume that basically like the think happy thoughts theory might have been the key to getting Artax out. But how you can lead a horse to water, but you can't make it think happy thoughts? I mean, I guess. I don't know. That wasn't really water, though. That was mud. And now, after long last, the final step. We raise the sweeps. Here it is complete, the Queen Anne's Revenge from CubicFun. Now, after having put this together, I can say the box says 3D puzzle on the side, it says model on the front. I'm gonna say it falls more in line with being a model, and here is why. The instruction manual is a step-by-step, oh, what a terrible page, that's the battery harness there, but step-by-step building instructions for this, which most puzzles, as far as I know, don't have instructions, and that's why they're called a puzzle. You puzzle over the assembly. The box indicates that the process of building this model should take a little bit more than 4 hours, and I can attest it took quite some time. It also rates the complexity as an 8. I'm assuming 8 out of 10, and I can attest that this was a pretty complex model, albeit it was my first time building a 3D puzzle like this. The material is an 1/8" foam board. So what that is there's an 1/8" thick foam core laminated between two pieces of cardstock that then have the printed design for the ship. It's cut and perforated to be popped out and then slipped into shape. So no glue is required for the assembly. Now, the box touts no tools were required. However, I did need a small Phillips head screwdriver to install the batteries into the battery pack, which wasn't a big deal. I also used some cellophane tape, which was recommended in the instruction manual, though not included with the model, to harness the wires and basically keep the cable management nice and tidy inside the model. It has a number of LEDs throughout, so it emits this really nice ambient glow when it's in a dark room, which I thought was very neat. One thing I did like about the instruction manual is right near the front, it has some history about the Queen Anne's Revenge and Blackbeard, or Edward Teach. It talks about the ship's origin as an English frigate that was then captured by the French and then further captured by Edward and used in his reign of terror as a pirate. One thing that I was kind of surprised about is the flag is incorrect. The flag for Blackbeard's vessel was actually like a white devil demon with a spear stabbing a bleeding heart. This skull and cross sabers was actually associated with Captain Jack Rackham. But I'm not going to really complain because, to be honest, stylistically, I'm more of a fan of Jack Rackham's flag. So I think it makes the model look really cool. But history buffs will point out and catch that that flag's incorrect, and I want to acknowledge that, yeah, it's incorrect. I still enjoy the model, but that kind of caught my eye. Otherwise, based off of historical findings about the vessel, this seems pretty darn accurate, and they have photos of some of the reproductions as well for you to see what this is based off of. The model has 32 guns, which falls in line with a lot of the history saying that Blackbeard's ship was modified to have about 40 guns, though as I recall, when the vessel was uncovered in the 90s, they were only able to account for 30. So I would say 32 to make the model look nice splits the difference quite well. This is not something that I would give to a younger kid to put together. I want to clarify the complexity was enough that I got very frustrated at certain points. I did need a second pair of hands to get this all put together. The most difficult part was actually a part of the hull near the front of the ship that wraps around. Everything is pressure locked, and you're dealing with this foam core that has a certain level of flexibility, and so at a certain point, it felt like I was really massaging the pieces into place, trying to get everything to flex just right. It almost felt like I was sculpting it, which was a very odd sensation, but kind of neat at the same time, because as everything came together, it definitely felt like I was taking a pretty active role in building the model. This is something that'll drive you crazy if you're super detail oriented, because, you know, for instance, I used to work in a print shop. So anytime anything printed like this takes damage, it sort of makes me involuntarily cringe. So as I was punching pieces out, I was being ever so delicate, which probably added a lot of time to the build process. I'm glad I was careful because I'm happy with how it turned out, but even still, every single flaw in this, I sit there and go, oh, I wish I was a bit more gentle with that piece. But that being said, because it's really kind of a paper craft, what's nice is you can forgive yourself for the flaws. This is not so highly detailed that it requires the amount of attention that I was putting into the details. This is something that will still turn out very nicely, even if you have to be a little bit rough, even if you get some folds, some tears. Lord knows there were a number of pieces on here that I accidentally crimped, bent, or tore. And in the final product, I can't even remember which ones actually have the damage. I'd have to go through and really scrutinize because everything fits together so nicely. So that being said, I thought that this was a really fun build. A little bit outside of what I've been doing with board games, but it was awesome. CubicFun contacted me and sent me this model to try out. They even gave me a nice little promo code for anybody watching, so that'll be in my description. You can get yourself 10% off, so follow that Amazon affiliate link and check out some of these models from CubicFun. Enter that promo code I've got for you to get an extra 10% off on your purchase. But this was a lot of fun. I look forward to doing these again sometime in the future. What an eye-catching piece. And you know, before I go, I want to end this with some really nice glamour shots if I can, because this is so neat. I look forward to having this up in my library. I think I'm going to have to put it on top of a copy of Treasure Island or something, because what an awesome model. Well, thanks for joining me today, and we'll see you next time.